Welcome back. By now, you're familiar with the foundational physics and logic of the early Stoic school, built by thinkers like Zeno and Chrysippus. Today, we are shifting our focus away from those early cosmological frameworks and entirely onto the specific figure of Epictetus. Modern treatments often categorize Epictetus as a mere popularizer, a teacher who simply packaged older Stoic maxims for a Roman audience. That categorization is incorrect. He moved the center of gravity of the Stoic school away from abstract metaphysics and toward a highly systematic, sharply defined psychological framework. To study Epictetus is to examine a radical architectural model of human identity. His primary target for philosophical inquiry is human agency. He wants to map out exactly how the mind is built and identify exactly where our power lies. This brings us to his defining concept, prohairesis, or volition. In his model, this is the absolute core of the self. It is the only thing you actually are. There is a common introductory level reading of the Stoic dichotomy of control that interprets it as a mandate for passive resignation to fate. Treating texts like the Enchiridion as a handbook for giving up when things get difficult is a profound misreading of the material. His philosophy is an aggressive, tactical system designed to achieve uncompromising, absolute mental autonomy. His intensely practical focus makes sense when we look at his biography. Born a slave and eventually living in the epicenter of imperial Rome, Epictetus was surrounded by unpredictable power dynamics and extreme physical vulnerabilities. Unlike earlier philosophers who wrote passive doctrinal treatises, Epictetus delivered live confrontational lectures, which were transcribed by his student Arrian. His pedagogical style was heavily influenced by the teaching methods of Socrates. He deployed the elenchus, a rapid, combative style of cross-examination designed to corner his interlocutors in their own logical inconsistencies. This method forces students to directly confront the painful dissonance between the desires they state out loud and their actual internal values. His classroom was an arena of intellectual combat designed to shatter student complacency. To understand how he maps the mind, we need to contrast his model with the framework used by the founders of the school. Earlier Stoics relied heavily on the term hegemonikon, which translates to the governing faculty of the mind. This diagram illustrates that concept. In early Stoic doctrine, the hegemonikon is a broad term that applies to the souls of animals just as much as it does to human beings. Because this governing faculty includes passive sense impressions and basic animal instincts, it cannot be completely autonomous. Epictetus addresses this by carving out a highly specific, distinct center exclusive to humans and to God, the prohairesis. This inner circle represents the capacity for conscious choice, the power of assent, and deliberate impulse. He makes a radical theological claim here. Your prohairesis is a literal fragment of divine autonomy. It is the only thing a human being truly owns. We can test how this psychological model operates under extreme external pressure by looking at a specific dialogue recorded in the discourses. Epictetus presents a hypothetical scenario. A tyrant threatens the philosopher with physical chains and exile. The tyrant has the absolute ability to inflict physical constraints, control property, and banish the physical form. He has total power over the alienable body. However, the tyrant has a complete inability to penetrate or coerce the inner domain of the philosopher's mind. The physical leg can be taken. The mind's assent cannot be forced by anyone, not a tyrant, and according to Epictetus, not even Zeus. While the external cosmos operates strictly according to deterministic physics, the internal domain of human volition remains absolutely and eternally uncoerced. In the Epictetan model, freedom is not a political state. It is not the physical liberty to move about the world unimpeded. Freedom is a purely psychological achievement. It is attained by aligning your volition entirely with the logical nature of the cosmos. Achieving this requires the difficult, deliberate transfer of all values and attachments away from external vulnerabilities. By restricting desires exclusively to internal objectives, the practitioner guarantees their own success and eliminates the possibility of emotional enslavement. By methodically abandoning all claims to the external world, Epictetus constructs an impenetrable fortress of the mind. Which brings us back to the modern misconception of Stoic resignation. This philosophical system is the exact opposite of passivity. Maintaining this psychological fortress demands hypervigilance. It requires the rigorous self-monitoring of every single impression that enters the mind. Active, uncompromising intellectual integrity is required at every waking moment. A failure to examine your own mind is a choice to slide back into mental slavery. Before our next session, review your notes on the specific mechanics of assent. We will test them in the next lecture.